Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu mavit vishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 6 to 10 of chapter 3. Karmendriyani sanyamya,
Karmendriyani sanyamya,
Ya aste manasa smaran,
Ya aste manasa smaran,
Indriyartan vimudhatma,
Indriyartan vimudhatma,
Mithyachara sa uchyate,
Mithyachara sa uchyate,
Yastvindriyani manasa,
Yastvindriyani manasa,
Niyamyarabhaterjuna,
Niyamyarabhaterjuna,
Karmendriyai karma yogam,
Karmendriyai karma yogam,
Asakta savishishyate,
Asakta savishishyate,
Niyatam kuru karmatvam,
Niyatam kuru karmatvam,
Karmajayo hyakarmanaha,
Karmajayo hyakarmanaha,
Sharirayatra pichate,
Sharirayatra pichate,
Na prasidhyeda karmanaha,
Na prasidhyeda karmanaha,
Yajñarthat karmanonyatra,
Yajñartat karmanonyatra,
Lokoyam karma bandhanaha,
Lokoyam karma bandhanaha,
Tadartham karma kaunteya,
Tadartham karma kaunteya,
Mukta sangha samachara,
Mukta sangha samachara,
Saha yajñah praja srishtva
Sahayajna praja srishtva
purovacha prajapatihi
Purovacha prajapatihi
anena prasavishyadvam
Anena prasavishyadvam
yeshavostvishta kamadhuk
Yeshavo svishta kamadhuk
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So in the last session we were seeing asaktaha. Asaktaha means unattached. Saktaha means getting attached to something, and asaktaha means not being attached to something. Very powerful principle is being given to you. It takes a while to master that because the mind's tendency is to get attached. When I say mind, I mean the untrained mind. The mind which has not been spiritually trained will get attached to something or other. Why is that? When I say something or other, we are talking of something or other from the world. So when you take a mind which has been spiritually trained, it is no longer attached to anything here because it has been trained to be attached to the infinite. See, what you need to understand is that fundamentally, attachment is the nature of the mind. You cannot change that. The mind cannot be without attachment. Why? Because that is the very nature of the mind itself. It's like saying, I want sugar without sweetness. Then it's no longer sugar. I want salt without the salty taste. It's like that. We can't even say it is a quality of the mind. It is the very nature. This is what the mind is made up of. This is what we call as the mind. If you take away attachment, the mind cannot exist. Then he is saying, practice asaktaha. Practice being unattached. The two manasa, with the mind. How is that possible? So that is why I started off by saying a spiritually untrained mind will get attached to something or other in the world. A spiritually trained mind will not get attached to any aspect of the world because that force of attachment has been directed towards God, towards infinite. So when you're practicing this quality of asaktaha, now we are not trying to kill the attachment. Killing the attachment is equivalent to killing the mind. Just as killing, that is removing, killing here means removing the saltiness is equivalent to removing off the salt. So what are we doing in spirituality when we are trying to practice asaktaha? We are only diverting that energy of attachment from the lower to the higher. That energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be intelligently diverted. The direction can be changed. So when you try to stop the attachment forcefully, then the mind will rebel. It will naturally rebel because its very nature and substance is being stopped. See, a river's nature is to flow only. Supposing you try to block it, it will go elsewhere. That's how it is. So, in the spiritual path, the masters don't ask you to forcefully become detached. Detachment can never be forced. Please understand this. When you have higher values of life, the mind's attachment will start flowing towards the higher. Then automatically you will get detached from the lower. When you are having a lot of value for something, the mind is going to get attached there. Any amount of trying to convince or trying to force, it will not work because the mind will keep on going there. See, the mind requires some avenue where it can flow. Where it can flow and where it can get attached. Actually, the more you try to forcefully pull the mind away, the more it will run. That is also very interesting. When force is applied, even though whatever you're saying may be incidentally right, but the fact is the mind is attached to something. So when force is applied, the mind starts rebelling. It doesn't like it. It will run more with greater force. For a while you may succeed, but the mind will be waiting for opportunities where it can again pounce and start flowing in the same direction. That is why we never use force. Instead, what do? We gain the higher wisdom. As you gain the higher wisdom of life, your understanding becomes very subtle. You get established in the higher principles of life. When you get established in the higher principles of life, or even during the process, then automatically the mind will start withdrawing from here. Because in order to flow to the higher, it has to come out of the lower. So it's a simultaneous process. There, if you just gently pull the mind, it will come back. So when he is talking of niyamya, which means restraining, pulling, he is not talking of pulling by force, but he is talking about pulling the mind with an understanding. Again, this should not be used for justifying your weaknesses. See, a person is addicted to drinking or smoking, he says, Yogishri himself said, don't force the mind. So I'm gently trying. It's not like that. How long is it going to take for you to understand that alcohol is injurious to health or smoking is injurious to health? A few minutes. So after that, with that understanding, step by step you can withdraw. It's not a big thing. I know people who have come out of drinking and smoking within a few days. I have seen even people who have got addicted to drugs, the substance. They've also come out, within a few weeks. Of course, after that, a lot of effort is put to maintain that state. One has to be very careful. When you do the sadhana, that will help you in this process. It will help you to release all the frustrations. See, what happens is, when the mind is completely attached to something, now you're gently trying to pull it. Even though you have understood the higher, the mind is still running here. So you're gently trying to pull it and you direct it towards the higher. Now in that process, the mind can get frustrated a bit till it starts flowing towards the higher in a proper way. So that is where the sadhana can come and help. Every day when you do your sadhana, all these kinds of frustrations, suppressions, everything can be released effectively. It's not a one-day process. See, it's so difficult to come out of even one addiction, just addiction to one thing. That itself is so difficult. Now here he is talking about complete unattachment. So that's why we say you cannot, you should not become result oriented, because you will be very frustrated if you are result oriented in the spiritual path. This is a long-term growth. Why sometimes masters talk about acting immediately and all that is, when they find the students getting into a tamasa, it's anyway a long time growth, and they stop putting efforts in the present, then they say no, either now or never. But if you're getting too attached to the results, then you need to learn to relax a bit. So this is the fundamental principle you need to understand about your own mind, because the word asaktaha is directly related to those two words which he has used, manasa niyamya, in the first line. Yastvindriyani manasa niyamya. So restraining by the mind. That is what is asaktaha. Automatically, see, when you restrain the mind, automatically you become detached. The asaktaha comes. So asaktaha is one side of the coin, manasa niyamya is the other side of the same coin. So you need to understand both together. So when you restrain the mind, when you pull back the mind, that is when you detach the mind, which is what is asaktaha, you should have some other substitute. And that substitute cannot be at the same level. Substitute means some other place where the mind can run and get attached. Why? Because the nature of the mind is to get attached. You cannot separate mind from attachment. It's very interesting. See, people just generally say, don't get attached. If you get attached, it will give you sorrow. This, that big lecture can be given. But how do you practically do it? That is where the yogic approach helps you. The yogic approach helps you to understand the nature of your own mind. And once you understand how the mind functions, you will be able to use the appropriate technique, the right technique, and achieve the desired result. Successfully, you will be able to do it. So why do we say attachment is the nature of the mind? See, what is a mind? Mind is nothing but a flow of thoughts only. Without the flow, there is no mind. It is a no mind state. That is enlightenment. We are not talking of that. As long as there is a mind, the very definition of the mind is it consists of emotions, it consists of feelings. What are emotions? Emotions are nothing but flow of thoughts towards a particular object. The energy in motion is called emotion. So the moment there is a flow, then only it's called the mind. Now if you cut off the flow, then the mind is cut off. Then you have achieved enlightenment. If that is possible, then why do we need to do any sadhana? Why do we require all this? That is not possible. So the flow of thoughts is going to be there always. So when you are trying to withdraw that flow from an object, you require a substitute where the flow can be directed. This is number one. I'm telling you, I'm giving you practical tips. These are all tips which yogis have discovered after years and years of practice. You also don't need to do put in the same amount of time and effort and discover that. That yogic wisdom is being given to you as a famous statement goes, Fools learn by their own experience. Wise learn from others. It's a very nice statement. Somebody made this, some thinker. Why? Because you can save a lot of time and effort when you learn from others' experience. So you should learn from the experience of the great yogis and siddhas. So what they are saying is, when you want to withdraw the flow of thoughts, which is what is the mind's attachment. When you want to withdraw that flow from an object, number one, you require another object where you can direct the flow. Number two, that object, which is a substitute, should be at a higher level. Then only you will grow, you will evolve spiritually. Otherwise, you will get detached from one object, but you will get attached to another object at the same level. Then what is the use? The mind will flow somewhere or other. It's like a person comes out of addiction from alcohol, but he gets addicted to smoking, cigarettes. Now, there is no difference. Both are at the same level. So you pull your mind from here and then it starts flowing in another direction at the same level. So in effect, you have not grown. It's not a sadhana. It becomes a waste of time. So that is why what is suggested is, when you withdraw the mind from an object, choose the substitute object from a higher level. I'll give you examples so that it will become clear to you. The highest level we will see. The highest level is when you withdraw the mind from the world, the substitute for that is God or infinite, so that the mind starts running there. And when it runs to the infinite, it will it will just go and merge with the infinite and stop running. That is the beauty. Because the nature of infinite is to absorb everything. Like how they talk of a black hole, no? It just absorbs everything, they say, no? It's like that. The infinite just absorbs everything and then puts it into rest. So that is at the highest level. But from a relative level, when you are practicing, you may not be able to direct the mind directly to the highest. Then what do? You choose something which is at a level slightly higher than whatever you are attached to right now. That would be easy, and then you can easily direct it there. You can actually come out of all your addictions and all the negative habits if you follow this principle. I'll give you a few examples to make it clear. Supposing you're addicted to alcohol or smoking. Now if I tell you withdraw your mind from alcohol and smoking and direct it to God, great poetry, you will say how inspiring it is. Next second you will go and take a cigarette and smoke, because that's the most difficult thing to do. If you can do it, then you don't require that advice at all. So what is suggested is, okay, when you're smoking, when you're drinking, you've gone to the level of, you've stooped down to a very low level, a level which is below the level of being a human being. Why? Because you're bringing your consciousness further down. See, a person who is an addict is not aware of what he's doing. Now, in order to pull it back, something higher would be if he starts gaining wisdom about what he is missing out in life from a worldly sense only. Okay, for the sake of my, for the sake of my achievement, this habit is not allowing me to achieve anything in life. For the sake of that, I will leave this. Some higher inspiration should be there, higher with respect to this. Like one person, this was long back, more than I think 25-30 years back, he told me something which was very interesting. He said he was a chain smoker. He must be what? At that time he would have been in his 60s. Yeah, nearing 60s. So he said, I was a chain smoker, and then one fine day I just stopped smoking. For the last few years I have not been smoking. So I asked him, how did you manage to do that? Did you drop it off on one fine day? He said, yes. Just one moment I decided I'll stop it, and I just stopped it. What about your withdrawal symptoms and all that? He said, I didn't have so much of withdrawal symptoms in spite of being a chain smoker. So that was very interesting. I asked him, so what made you drop that? He said, I have gone for counseling and they told me how unhealthy it is. All these things I myself knew. I was in a position to give lectures to others. But all that didn't prevent my mind from going towards the cigarettes. One day, what happened, he said he picked up his grandchild to play. He was extremely attached to his grandchild. He had 2 sons and 1 daughter, and this child was, this baby was born to his first son. So he picked up the baby to play with the baby, and his son and daughter-in-law came and stopped him. He said, why shouldn't I pick up and play? The son said, Papa, we don't want you to become close with our child because you have these habits of smoking and all that. So we don't want the child to pick it up. We can't keep monitoring it all the time. So our request is stay away from your grandchild. So when that was told to him, it hit him because he was so deeply attached to the child. Even before the grandchild was born, at the thought level, he was so excited and he was extremely attached. So when this was told to him, he immediately turned and said, from this second, I have stopped smoking. His sons and daughter, they didn't believe him. They said, no, we can't take your word because you'll say one thing today and tomorrow again you'll start. Next second itself, this second only I said I'll stop, no? So next second I'll start. All these things you'll say. So we will not believe this. He said, okay, you just watch me for 1 week. And to their surprise, he never picked up a cigarette. And now when he met me, it was a few years since he had left. Now, what is most interesting in this is that he was smoking quite heavily initially. Now, when he left it just like that, the withdrawal symptoms didn't come to him. Usually we talk of withdrawal symptoms. No, I myself say, be careful, gradual. But for this person, he says there was no withdrawal symptoms. That shows even the withdrawal symptoms is related to the mind only. If the mind is powerful, it can immediately make the body behave in a particular way. That is another interesting principle which we can observe in that person. Even if he had had some withdrawal symptoms, he would have been able to easily overcome them. Why? Because there, between the cigarette and between his grandchild, which is higher? The grandchild. So he had practiced the same principle but unconsciously. He got attached to the higher grandchild, higher with respect to the cigarette. So he was able to easily withdraw his mind, and the mind started flowing in this direction. He did it unconsciously, but here I am explaining to you the principle. So consciously you can use the principle to come out of any negative habit which you have. So when he is talking of asaktaha, he doesn't mean now don't get attached to anything, then you will be a dry person. He means don't get attached to the lower things of life. Instead, be attached to that one divine principle that's at the highest level. Then you bring it down to your level, to the relative level. It's better to be attached to the grandchild than to be attached to a cigarette. But after a few months of experience, if he does sadhana, then he will begin to realize that this is also lower. There are far more higher values than that. So he will pick up some other value and he will come out of this attachment. That's how a person grows spiritually. Till a time would come where the entire world will be before you. Now, all that is lower when compared to the infinite God. So you get attached there and the mind gets detached here. That is the most advanced level. That practice, it's a very powerful practice, but it's at the advanced level. So you will have to determine your level. What is your level? The things which you are attached to determines your level. I'm not getting into all that. See, there are in our Shastras, they have given 14 lokas. 14 lokas. Loka means experience. Loka means world also. It's a dimension, we can say. So the different dimensional experiences which you go through every day. Sometimes you go through the lower dimensional experiences also. When you are extremely angry, it is a particular dimension. The lower dimensions are called Patala Lokas. The higher dimension, in the middle is the earth. The higher dimensions are called heavens. Different grades, different types of heavens. Similarly, different types of Patala Lokas are also there. What are these? These are nothing but different states of consciousness. So at when your consciousness stoops down below the earthly level, then it can get attached to drugs, alcohol, like that many. Even a person who loses himself or herself in the emotion of anger or fear, it means your energies have moved down. So according to what you are attached to and the intensity of the attachment, you can immediately understand what is the level of your consciousness. That is called loka. I'm not getting into all the 14 lokas and all that now. That is a very vast subject. In some context, I'll explain that. Because how each loka functions, all that actually is nothing but the experience of the mind only. So in some other context we will see that. But as of now, you can just understand the different structures have been given in terms of experiences. From extreme negative to extreme positive. The highest loka, the highest dimension is the infinite dimension. So, according to what you are attached to, even though you may not know all this, you can simply use your own intellect analysis and you will know that this is lower and this is higher than this. See, like for example, let's say you're being very lazy. That is a lower dimension. Now, let me put in some effort and achieve something. That is a higher dimension when compared to laziness. Like that, you can use your own discretion and easily find out. That is more than enough to do the sadhana. So, if you follow these two tips which I gave you, that is, choose an object for the mind to flow and let the object be at a higher level than what you are today, then it is easy to get detached from the lower and you will get established in the next higher level. All sadhanas are using the same principle only. When you use your intellect to detach the mind from the lower and get attached to the higher, that is called Jnana Yoga. Through analysis and discrimination, you are able to pull the mind back. That is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is not merely studying books and cramming yourself with more knowledge. There are many people who are great pandits, but they don't become jnanis. Just because you're a pandit. Pandit means well informed about a subject. Doesn't mean you're necessarily a jnani. A jnani is one who has removed the attachments of the mind. A scholar is one who has gained knowledge about all this. There is a big difference. So when you use your intellect to do that, it is called Jnana Yoga. When you use your mind means that one aspect of the mind, the devotion, bhakti, to pull the mind from the lower and direct it to the higher, that is called Bhakti Yoga. The principle is the same. The tool which is used is different. So again, there is a difference between a bhakta, a true devotee of God, and a person who is just merely being ritualistic, who has got stuck with rituals. Just because a person is doing all the rituals and the external modes of worship doesn't necessarily mean he or she is practicing Bhakti Yoga. True Bhakti Yoga comes only if you use all this to pull your mind away from the lower and direct your emotions. That is, using your emotions, devotion, you direct the mind to the higher. Only then it is Bhakti. And that path is called Bhakti Yoga. They are not different paths, they are different ways only. All that I have explained earlier. But in common parlance, we use the word path, Now here he is talking about another way, Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Using your physical body to pull your mind away from the lower and directing it to the higher. That is called Karma Yoga. Using your body is not Karma Yoga. Using your body to function is karma, action. That yoga means union. What are they asking you to unite with? The infinite. So if you want to unite with the infinite, you have to get detached from the finite, which is what is asakta. So these are very, very carefully worded, these verses. Lord Krishna has used such beautiful words to illustrate this very process. So using your karma indriyas, instead of karma indriyas, we can in a general way say physical body. Using your physical body will give rise to action. But using your physical body to pull your mind from the lower and attach it to the higher, that will make it karma yoga. You are using karma, action, in order to achieve union with the higher. Yoga means union with the higher. What a brilliant exposition. On one hand he says karma yoga and immediately follows it up with asaktaha, karma yogam asaktaha. Beautifully combined together. So karma yoga is possible only if you practice this principle of asaktaha. Otherwise it will become just merely karma. Why I am mentioning this is, there are many people who claim to be karma yogis just because they are into action, but they are extremely attached to the lower. That is not karma yoga, that is merely karma. Similarly, there are many people who claim that they are great bhaktas just because they are performing certain pujas and rituals. Not necessary. That is why when we come to the 12th chapter, we'll see he gives you 35 qualities. Those qualities should be practiced. That happens when you withdraw the mind from the lower and attach it to the higher. Only if that is there, you are a bhakta, he says. Similarly, in the 13th chapter, he gives 20 qualities of a jnani. Just because you know many scriptures by heart and you know the word meaning of many things and all that, doesn't make you a jnani. Some people claim themselves to be jnanis just because they know the language Sanskritam. That is even more absurd, because Sanskritam is a language. Jnanam is an understanding, not mere intellectual understanding, but experiential understanding. You can understand it using any language. There are certain advantages that and all we are not getting into. That is when we use the Sanskritam language, vibrations, all those things have been given. But primarily speaking, what is Jnana Yoga? This is what is Jnana Yoga. Using your Jnanam to get united with the higher. And in order to get united to the higher, you have to detach your mind from the lower. So from the absolute level, the higher means the higher self, the infinite. From a relative level, what do we mean by the higher? The higher values of life, which is what you're being exposed to week after week. Now, to explain it in a very simple way, higher values of life means that which is good for you in the long run. Just use the simple formula. In any area of life, there are certain things which may give you immediate pleasure, but in the long run they will be harmful to you. If I'm taking extreme examples like alcohol, cigarette, drugs, those, that is, it becomes easy to understand. But even in other areas you can apply that and see. So there are certain objects, certain things which may not be so enjoyable in the beginning, but they will be very good for you in the long run. So you need to decide based on this criteria only. Lazing around, is it good for me in the long run? Doing exercises every day, is it good for me in the long run? You yourself will be able to find out. Doing yoga sankirtan sadhana every day, is it good for me in the long run or is it harmful for me in the long run? Your faculties will guide you. You will automatically get the clarity. Doing my duties with respect to my family, my work, all the areas, is it good for me in the long run or is it harmful? Just acting according to my impulses, is it harmful or good? Immediately you'll understand it's harmful. It's very interesting. Even, what I'm trying to say is, even if you don't get this wisdom in a systematic way, if you use this one principle in all the transactions of your life, you will get your answers. It's very difficult to do that because the mind gets completely involved and attached to something lower, and then that clouds your intellect. That's the whole problem. That's why we are having these sessions every Sunday, and from different angles these higher values of life are being given to you. So that these are all yardsticks, these are all principles which will come and help you when you're actually facing life. So, when we look at this principle, asaktaha, the word is very interesting. I generally said attachment. There is saktaha means attachment, so asaktaha means detachment. And we have also translated it as unattached. But I will give you a few dimensions of this word saktaha. There are many, but out of that I will give you a few dimensions. And these dimensions are very interesting. I have chosen those dimensions which will represent the different stages of this quality of saktaha. This flow will help you to understand how your mind functions very easily. That is, in seeing these dimensions of saktaha, asakta means opposite of that, so it will be very easy for you. In going deep and absorbing these dimensions of this word saktaha, as you understand this, you will also understand how this entire attachment itself happens and what happens once you get attached. Everything, like a story, it gets revealed to you. Just this one word. It's like an entire story, if it can be summed up in one word. How powerful that word is. That is what is asaktaha. We will see first saktaha and then just add the opposite of that. It's very easy to understand. So, saktaha, the first dimension which we are going to see, whatever was used as attachment, that is, I used it in a gentle way. Now we will get to specifics. The first dimension of saktaha, which you should know, is saktaha means being fond of something. Fondness. How does the mind operate? How does it exactly get completely enmeshed in the lower? You need to be very clear about it. You should get clarity over that. When you are studying this externally, that is only bookish clarity. But when you apply it to yourself and study your mind using these, then it automatically gives you that objectivity because you start observing your own mind. So the first dimension of saktaha means being fond of something. Incidentally, this is the first step. Stage 1, we can say. Fondness means liking something. You may be fond of something. It has not yet gathered a lot of force. Just being fond of something, just being fond of someone, it looks very innocuous. It looks very harmless. But it has a potential of becoming very dangerous if you're not watchful, if that is not under your control. I like to do this, I like to do that. See, when we talk of fondness, the problem is the quality of fondness does not take into consideration whether what it is fond of or who it is fond of is good, that is beneficial for the individual in the long run or not. That criteria is not considered by the mind. It is just fond of something without any particular reason. So, if you observe, you will be fond of so many things. Sometimes that thing can be positive, sometimes that thing can be very harmful also. There is absolutely no discretion, no logic here. That is saktaha, very first step. We studied a similar sequence in the previous chapter of the ladder of fall, where he was talking of casual thinking, He had expressed it in a different way. Now we are going to study the same thing, but in a slightly different way. This will give you a lot of depth. So being fond of something, how will it manifest? It will manifest as a like, or it may manifest as a very sweet emotion like compassion, pity. Why I'm saying sweet emotion is actually pity is also a kind of weakness, but it will be very sweet to you. It could be any of these emotions which are related to fondness, liking, pity. Pity means, see how sad, pitying another person's suffering. That looks like a noble emotion, but actually it is not. It is a weakness. That's what happened to Arjuna. He fell a prey to weak pity only. Compassion is a higher emotion. Pity will lead to saktaha, further and further. Now, if you don't apply your awareness there, and if you don't keep the mind under check, what will happen? The mind will start flowing in that direction of fondness. Now, when the mind starts flowing in the direction of fondness, now the next stage, that is the next dimension of saktaha, it is called attachment. There are more stages which we'll be seeing. But first I want you to understand these two. So first is a casual like, what we call as fondness. But if that starts flowing without your awareness, now it will lead to attachment. What is the difference between attachment and fondness? It's a difference in degree. The force has become more intense. So since the force has become more intense, whatever you're attached to, now you will start depending on that object or person for your happiness. When it is at the level of fondness, you like something, supposing you don't get it, it will cause a little bit of unhappiness, but not to such a great extent that you cannot function and all that. Whereas when it comes to the level of attachment, now you will become very dependent on that object or person for your happiness. Unless the person smiles at you, you will not be happy. If this person frowns at you, you will lose your happiness. Or same thing with respect to the object also. Not only we are talking of depending on that object or person for happiness, it will start causing a lot of fear. The fear of losing. When it is at the fondness level, the fear of losing and all is not there. Potential is there, but it is not manifest. But when it has come to the attachment level, there will be an intense fear of losing that object. If you are attached to wealth, you will have the fear of losing wealth. You may have millions and billions of rupees, doesn't matter, but you will still be afraid. If you are attached to power, you will have the fear of losing power. If you are attached to name and fame, you will have the fear of losing the name and fame. If you are attached to someone, you will have the fear of losing that person. So number one, you become dependent on the object or person for your happiness. Number two, it causes the fear of losing. And number three, whenever you have the fear of losing something, you will become very possessive. The possessiveness towards that object or towards that person will increase tremendously. When you become possessive, you will want to control the other person. You will not give the other person a little bit of freedom, because the moment there is a little bit of freedom for the other person, it will cause a lot of fear. Will the other person go away? So there will be no space at all. And when you are over possessive about something or someone, that will give rise to a lot of insecurity. These are all the various effects of that stage of saktaha, attachment. I am just briefly giving you this. Anyway, all these, all these dimensions will be covered in some context or other as we go along. There we will expand it further and also see. But whatever I am giving you now, these are all very, very effective tips. We can't even call it tips. We can say they are effective tools by which you can study your own mind. So if you want to locate where your mind is attached, look for these symptoms. What are the things where you are dependent on those for your happiness? Or people also, things and people. Similarly, the fears, where are they? About what do you fear? Then similarly, possessiveness. And then comes insecurity, wanting to control. See, all these things, wherever they are manifesting, it means that is your area of attachment. You can take this as a homework and do this. It will be an interesting study. Remember, don't get into the spirit of self-criticism. Please. These lectures are not meant to pull your spirits down. These are only meant for an objective study of you. This is self-analysis, not self-criticism. We are not, just because you are attached to something doesn't make you a bad person or something. That's not the spirit of this ancient wisdom at all. We are only talking of how to keep increasing our happiness. So when you are dependent on something or someone for your happiness level will start going down. Because if you don't have that object, you will be unhappy. If you have the object, it will manifest as fear of losing it. Then you're never going to be happy. So that is why the great Ramatita, he said, attachment spells sorrow. In one line, he just dismissed the whole thing. Buddha also said the same thing. The root cause of all suffering is attachment, he said. Now the problem is people mistook the attachment of the mind to physical contact. See, the masters are not against having possessions. They are only saying don't be possessive about your possessions. That possessive attitude. They are not saying don't get into relationships. That is at the external level. We are talking of the mental level. How dependent are you? So this is the second powerful dimension of saktaha. Now, at least at that stage you should wake up and you should practice the sadhana and come out of it. But if you don't wake up, if your awareness is not there, now it will go to the third stage, which is an even more dangerous stage. That stage is the next dimension of Saktaha, that is addiction. Saktaha means addiction. If you allow the attachment to go too much, it will get to the dangerous stage of addiction. Addiction can be to anything. Addiction is not restricted only to addictive substances like alcohol, drugs and all that. Why do we always give that example is, by its very nature, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, these are addictive substances. By its very nature, they will get you into a state of addiction. But so that is why the moment we talk of addiction, we take those as example. But the same addiction you can get towards other things also. So what is the difference between attachment and addiction? In attachment, you are dependent on the object for your happiness. In the stage of addiction, you are dependent on the object to just be normal. You are dependent on the object or the person. The moment the object is taken away from you, you become very fidgety. You can't function normally. For example, if you take an alcoholic, again I am giving alcohol, smoking, these things as an example because that's very easy to understand. If you take an alcoholic means one who is addicted to alcohol. Such a person, he requires alcohol to be normal, but that normal is not being truly normal, but to be stable to a certain extent. The moment the alcohol is taken away, now his palms will start shivering and he will have severe digestive issues, the gastric problems, all these things will start. Actually, one person told me, he said, sir, why I am drinking is if I don't drink, I get gastric problems. As if, no, drinking is a solution for gastric issues, Then I had to tell him this is total lack of clarity. This is because of your dependence that this whole thing is happening. So when you get addicted to a person, then if the person doesn't talk to you for a single day, or if the person slightly goes here and there in terms of how that person has to behave to you, immediately you become very abnormal. You lose all your normalcy. That is the state of addiction. You are not merely dependent on the object for happiness, but it has become more intense now. We don't need to talk about possessiveness, fear, insecurity and all that has gone to a different level when it comes to addiction. Addiction, see, when you are attached, you are still at the level of being a human. But if you get addicted, you have gone to the lower dimension. Your energies have gone down further. That is why, I keep on cautioning for all the sadhaks. Don't get into the stage of addiction. Why do we say avoid? Certain things are to be avoided like alcohol, drugs, smoking and all that. One is the physical harm, but the spiritual harm is it can lower your consciousness and take you quickly down. So all the sadhana which you have done, the fruits will just go away, just like that. It's like earning a lot of money and then taking and putting it in fire and burning all the money. Your entire efforts will go waste. You're doing sadhana, you're coming for empowerments, all that. And then finally everything is just going down the drains. What is the use? That is why if you locate an area of addiction, now immediately start taking action. Don't postpone that. These masters are saying attachments themselves are very dangerous. Now, when it comes to addiction, there's nothing to say regarding that. It's so deadly. It can completely pull you down. See, what will happen is when you're in the stage of addiction, the third stage, all your faculties will go down in power. You will not be able to think clearly. You will not be able to feel. You will lose the capacity to feel. A person who is an alcoholic will not be able to feel for his own wife, his own children. Why? Because the consciousness is lowered. The capacity to think goes away, the capacity to feel go away, then the physical capacity to enjoy also goes away. What is the point? Still the mind will be there because it is in a state of addiction. Very dangerous stage. Saktaha. Now, a person who's addicted definitely requires external help. So if you're addicted in one area, you should take external help, some support to come out of it. You cannot do it on your own. It's very difficult, almost impossible. The Guru will help you in overcoming your addictions provided you show the intention, provided you are very sincere. Like there was one person who sent me a mail. He said for many years he had been smoking. Then he just invoked the Guru Shakti and started doing the sadhana. What is interesting is he has not even met me personally, because he started attending after this went online, during the COVID time. So what he says is, but each session was personal to me. And so, see, ultimately the connection with the Guru is with the mind only, at the internal level. The physical proximity has no meaning. Some people say, if only I meet you, sir, just once, my whole life will be transformed. Nothing like that. They don't expect some magic, or all these are in the movies only. If you have to get transformed, you can get transformed right now, no? The Guru Shakti is flowing. Why do you need to wait for that moment where you meet the Guru physically, and that time you will be so overwhelmed, or your mind will go here and there, you will miss the whole thing also. So there is nothing like that. So this person, he invoked the Guru Shakti, he got connected with the Guru, and very sincerely he attended all the Sunday sessions and he did the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana. And what he has written is something amazing. He says, automatically my smoking started reducing. And for the first time in the last 15 or 20 years, he says, I celebrated my birthday. That particular day was his birthday. He said, I celebrated my birthday without any smoking. The amount of confidence with which he had written that mail, that is what was so wonderful. Because when he had conquered that weakness, it gave him so much of confidence. He will really rise very high in life. So that itself shows it is not the physical proximity with the Guru. The connection is internal. Remember that. The physical proximity some people may have based on the work, functionality, for functionality purposes. But the real connection is the internal connection only. So he took that external help of the Guru Shakti, and he conquered that addiction. Not a big thing. If you show the intention, if your bhavana is pure, if you have true devotion, it's possible. Classic example. If you still don't do anything about it, then what will happen? The next dimension of Saktaha is fixed. Saktaha means getting fixed. So your whole life will get fixed to that area where you are addicted. You will not be able to move anywhere. Actually, there are two dimensions, the fourth and fifth. I'll give them together. One is getting stuck, the other is getting fixed. So we'll first take up stuck, which is the fourth, and fixed we can take it as a fifth stage. Then it becomes easy for you to understand. So being stuck means your consciousness gets stuck there. All your freedom goes away. Being fixed means it's a very dangerous situation. You're being fixed at a particular level. See, whenever the water never moves, what will happen? Slowly it will start gathering moss. Similarly, when you get fixed at a lower level, then it will lead to a complete devolution. That's a danger. So first, being fond of something very, very innocently. That's there itself, if you can use this wisdom and decide what you need to pick up, what you don't need to pick up, there are no issues in life. That you should come to that level, Then the next step is attachment. Very deadly. But that is better. Attachment is better than getting addicted. Once you get into addiction, you cannot lead a normal life at all. You cannot relate with anyone. You cannot achieve anything in life. And the fourth step is getting stuck. Your consciousness gets stuck there. See, up to the attachment, in the attachment it was the mind. The consciousness is still in the process only. Addiction, consciousness has gone more. When you get stuck, it means the consciousness is slipped. You've moved away from the very purpose of your life. Very, very difficult thereafter. And then only the fifth stage, which is even more dangerous, that is getting fixed. Difference between getting stuck and getting fixed is, in getting stuck you can still try and remove it. Once you get fixed something, it is very difficult. You will have to uproot the whole thing. And the danger in getting fixed in something is, you will start gathering a lot of dirt, moss. You will not stay put at that level. You will start devolving very fast. Just as an unattended garden will give rise to weeds, similarly an unattended personality will give rise to devolution, opposite of evolution. Here we are talking of spiritual devolution. Because don't confuse this with Darwin's theory of evolution and all that. See, some people, they think in a very funny way, So this is the deadly quality of saktaha. And here he says, practice asaktaha. Practice being unattached. So at every stage you can practice. See, if you were to see in certain areas of life, it will be at the stage of fondness. Easily you can practice asaktaha. In many areas of your life, it will be in a stage of attachment. You will have to put some effort. You will have to put a lot of effort to come out. That through the sadhana, with the help of the Guru Shakti, the higher blessings, it should be possible for a sadhak. Rarely, in some areas, you may be addicted. That is very dangerous. Immediately take attention. Seek the higher guidance and come out of it. Because that one addiction is enough to destroy your entire life. One drop of poison is enough to to spoil the entire cup of milk. You can't say 99.9999999% is milk only, sir. Only one drop of poison. So I'll drink it. Finished. So even one area of addiction, you have to be very careful. And if you go off into the stage of being stuck and then being fixed and all that, the awareness itself will not function there. We just have to wait with you have to do some sadhana. The Guru, with the infinite patience, he will wait till the healing energy starts flowing there and slowly brings the student up at least to the level of attachment, and then only he'll be able to communicate. So, as far as you're all concerned, mostly it will be in the fondness and attachment stage only. Some people, one area here and there, it may have gone up to addiction. So, there immediately take steps to solve it. And if it's the attachments and all that, you can work it out through the sadhana. So, that is how you need to practice this wonderful sadhana of asaktaha, which is being given. The method which I am giving you are direct practical principles. You can directly apply them. So instead of talking very big, talking in a poetic way and all that, this is the way it has to be done. Okay? So if you do all this, then vishishyate, saha vishishyate, a person who does that will excel. Excel means will keep growing, will be very successful both in the worldly sense and in the spiritual sense. That is what we want, no? Okay, so we'll stop with this today. I have given you a lot of inputs. This is to a good level of depth. I've gone today because you're all receiving so well. When you receive more, automatically more will be given. It is directly proportional to your receptivity only. Okay, so now we'll do the Nididhyasana meditation. Gently close your eyes. Breathe in a deep way. With every breath, I am becoming more and more relaxed. Feel the divine vibrations. With every breath, I am going deeper and deeper into myself. Beyond this physical body, beyond this mind with its emotions, beyond this intellect with its thoughts, lies my higher self, the infinite supreme reality. I choose to do the sacred sadhana of asaktaha and keep evolving right up to the stage of the infinite. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. We had a very practical session today. Very, very powerful principles. Spend some time in reflection and absorb these principles. Start practicing them. These principles which are being given to you can guarantee success in your life, provided you absorb them and follow them properly. And as I told you, all these are also preparation for the very, very powerful course which we are going to have in November, December. This mostly in December, just 2-3 days, then end of November, 27th, I think so. Finding rhythm in life. So that is why if you practice these things, it will help you further there. And as far as the 22-day program is concerned, I've been getting a lot of questions. Many people have asked about certain aspects of the course that I will cover in the due course. We still have time. A few mails and few messages which we have received, like one lady has asked about, she has said that she is traveling for 2 days in between. So what do I do? That's what she has asked. Several others have also asked about travel. There is in between a few days. And one person has asked about the work. He has said some new project he has taken up, which is going to where he's required to put in more hours of work. See, as far as these travel in between and all that, you register, we'll see that on a case-to-case basis, we'll have to see that and see how to solve it. So you can contact the organizers. See, don't postpone the registration because of that, because as I told you, the healing Shakti is being given on a daily basis. That will not only prepare you to receive the empowerment course, the energy of the empowerment course, it will cause a lot of healing. So why should you miss out on that? The other things, see, if you have any issue like you're traveling in between or work requires extra time, you contact the organizers, and then they will bring it to my attention and we'll see how to solve that practically. Because of these small reasons, don't miss the great opportunity. That's all I can tell you. Of course, finally the choice is yours only, because as a yogi, I'm not supposed to interfere with your decision. But it is my duty to tell you that this will give you so much benefits. This path is not good for you. That will be done. So any issues, you can always discuss with the organizers and some personalized solution we can come to. Due to these petty things, don't miss the grand opportunity. That is the key. See, it so happened in one person's case where during the empowerment, this near and dear one was not well. So even before the empowerment, he had asked, he had to be in the hospital sometimes overnight and things like that. I think this happened during Prana Tattva or something. So we worked out something. I gave him some specific instructions to be followed and some extra healing was given for him to, complete the course. And he successfully completed it. Okay. So, see, once you fix a goal, by hook or by crook, you need to achieve that. That should be your approach. The other questions regarding certain technical aspects and all about the course, I will answer them in the coming weeks. Okay? So, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next session. Hari Om.